So if you guys have not been aware, Roger Waters is being attacked yet again. He had a concert recently. Of course, he is still touring. And as part of his live performance about the wall, he dresses up in, I gotta be careful what I say on YouTube. He dresses up in a certain type of outfit, attire. This is not new, okay? This is part of the performance. And if anyone has ever watched the movie The Wall, or if you've listened to The Wall and actually paid attention to the lyrics, you will know that part of what The Wall is about is speaking out against fascism. Unfortunately, that is not the way that mainstream media seems to see it. And that is also not the way that police in Germany have seen it. Now, this broke my heart a little bit, having pretty much grown up in Germany. I was kind of taken aback, and I was like, you guys know better. We're going to play this clip from CNN, but I'm going to tell you what I think this is really about. So CNN chimes in here and they say police in Germany have launched a criminal investigation into Roger Waters, the co-founder of Pink Floyd, after he appeared dressed in a costume resembling a Nazi uniform during 2 concerts in Berlin last week. Boy, I tell you, here we go.
A rock star is under investigation, accused of incitement. Berlin police have confirmed that Roger Waters, the co-founder of the legendary band Pink Floyd, is now being investigated after he wore a costume resembling a Nazi uniform at 2 concerts last week. CNN's Scott McLean is covering the story for us from London. Scott, what are German police saying about his appearances?
Hey, Boris. First off, this requires a lot of context, obviously, on both sides. First off, the costume itself is worn as part of a performance of the 1979 album The Wall, in which the protagonist hallucinates that he is a fascist dictator. Obviously, it looks like a Nazi uniform. It has the red armband and everything, but instead of a swastika, it has 2 crossed hammers, which is imagery that you'll find associated with that album. It is meant to be satire. He's actually been doing it for decades, but this is the very first time that it's attracted a German criminal investigation. But the Berlin police have justified it like this, saying the context of the clothing worn is deemed capable of approving, glorifying, or justifying the violent and arbitrary rule of the Nazi regime.
Let's go back here for just a second. Something he said that I think is important, and I'm going to chime in.
It's attracted a German criminal investigation, but the Berlin police have justified it like this, saying that...
Sorry. Here we go. This part.
...be satire. He's actually been doing it for decades, but this is the very first time that it's attracted a German criminal investigation, but the...
He's been doing this for decades, but this is the first time it's attracted the attention of a German investigation. Why would that be? What has Roger Waters been doing recently over the past couple of months where other people have attacked him for? Right? He's been very vocal against this war with Russia and Ukraine. He's called for peace. He's spoken to the United Nations about this as well. He also has been very critical about the conflict between Israel and Palestine. Those 2 things will get you. Right? So if he's been doing this performance for years, this has never been an issue before, but now all of a sudden, out of the blue, people have a problem with this attire. They have a problem with his performance. You need to look at what else is going on behind the scenes. And I really think, had it not been for Roger Waters pushing back against this war in Russia and Ukraine and calling for peace, had it not been for Roger Waters being very outspoken about his beliefs about the conflict about Israel and Palestine and standing up for the Palestinian people, would they have responded to this performance this time around? I don't think they would have. Let's go on.
Berlin police have justified it like this, saying the context of the clothing worn is deemed capable of approving, glorifying, or justifying the violent and arbitrary rule of the Nazi regime in a manner that violates the dignity of the victims and thereby disrupts public peace. Now, the performance itself has been controversial for a long time, so much so that the city officials in Frankfurt actually tried to force the venue for this coming Sunday's concert to cancel it. It ended up in a German courtroom. And according to The Guardian, the court ruled that though the performance uses symbolism manifestly based on that of National Socialism, it did not glorify or relativize the crimes of the Nazis or identify with Nazi racist ideology.
Duh! Have any of you ever seen the movie The Wall? So we watched The Wall in high school, right? My teacher was a little bit different, but we watched it in high school. Watch the movie. I remember it used to come on VH1 like often, actually, although I haven't seen VH1 in a long time. But they used to show it like on VH1. If you watch The Wall, then you understand that. You listen to the album, you understand that. It's just really interesting to me. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, now all of a sudden people have a problem with this performance when this has been happening for a long time. I think that Roger Waters has become an enemy of the state. There's a movie called Enemy of the State. It starred Will Smith. Now, that character went through some things, but I think Roger Waters has become a real enemy of the state in the sense that he is also on that website, the Ukrainian kill list, along with some others, along with children, I've been told. But he's on that website. There are people trying to ban Roger Waters from performing at certain venues. You know who else was banned from performing at venues that was a musician? The Dixie Chicks. And what did they do? They spoke out against the war in Iraq during a time when it was not favorable to do so. Some people don't remember that, but I do. Dixie Chicks were canceled for almost 10 years because of their opposition to the Iraq war. Roger Waters has this opposition towards Russia and Ukraine. There are some people that don't like the fact that he has been politicizing some of his concerts. So what? It's his show. People pay money to go there. If you don't want to see it, don't buy a ticket and don't go. It's that simple, people. But this is an attempt, in my belief, to try to silence him the same way they silenced the Dixie Chicks. I really do believe he has become an enemy of the state. And he won't be the last one. There will be more that follow. Here they are going after an entertainer.
After that court ruling earlier this month, Waters spoke to a podcast about the performance and said this.
And they said, and so how can he possibly be allowed to do a show if he dresses up as Himmler and yet blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, I can be allowed to do a show because it's theater, darling. The idea that nobody can dress up in a fucking Nazi uniform ever to do anything in a theater or a film is ludicrous. Obviously.
Are they going to come after Hollywood for those as well? Are they going to come after Brad Pitt for dressing up? I mean, you see how far this goes, but that's what I want you guys to understand. This is not really what it's about. It's about his opinions about Israel and Palestine and about his opinions about this war between Russia and Ukraine. That's underneath it all. That's what it's really about. This is just something that they can try to pin him on.
So Waters is a very, very harsh critic of the Israeli government, calling it a tyrannical, racist regime, but he has always consistently denied that he is anti-Semitic. His explanation there, though, hasn't satisfied all of his critics. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has been critical of the performance, and there's going to be protests in Frankfurt from the Jewish community this Sunday, Boris.
So there you go. He mentioned Israel and Palestine. He didn't mention anything about Russia and Ukraine. There is a statement from Roger Waters, and I want to share the statement. It says a statement from Roger Waters on the controversy over his Berlin concert. My recent performance in Berlin has attracted bad faith attacks from those who want to smear and silence me because they disagree with my political views and moral principles. The elements of my performance that have been questioned are quite clearly a statement in opposition to fascism, injustice, and bigotry in all its forms. Attempts to portray those elements as something else are disingenuous and politically motivated. The depiction of an unhinged fascist demagogue has been a feature of my show since Pink Floyd's The Wall in 1980, before I was born. I have spent my entire life speaking out against authoritarianism and oppression wherever I see it. When I was a child after the war, the name of Anne Frank was often spoken in our house. She became a permanent reminder of what happens when fascism is left unchecked. My parents fought the Nazis in World War II, with my father paying the ultimate price. Regardless of the consequences of the attacks against me, I will continue to condemn injustice and all those who perpetrate it. Now, he has been critical of the apartheid state. He's not one of those people that's going to sit up there and make excuses for what's happening in Israel. And I'm sorry, but it needs to be said. The fact that you can't even criticize the state of Israel without being smeared is anti-Semitic. It's gotten to the point where it's absolutely ridiculous, you know? But that's what it's come to. That's what's come to. What else? How else would you talk about it? How else would you refer to it? When we get to RFK Jr.'s statement, I'm going to show you why it's so problematic, what's happening in Israel. Now, he also gave a brief statement at his concert in Frankfurt. Check this out.
Tonight, I'm not going to wear the leather coat. And I'll tell you why this is special. And why it's special here tonight, because I've read everything that I could find that explains the point of view of the people who... There were a few people protesting outside earlier this afternoon. I'm happy to say that some of my band went out and mingled, and I'm really happy. One of them sent me pictures of people who were saying, Roger, welcome to Germany. Oh my God, do you know how much that meant to me? After all the bullshit I've been going through for the last few years. Yeah! Yeah! Thank you! It's not, because believe me, it may look like a doddle, but being vilified in the way I have been for something that is completely untrue, blatant lies. And I could sit here for an hour and explain the narrative as it's developed over the years since I went to Palestine and saw what was going on there. Okay, you can listen, we're in the bar, but I don't know if that was people whistling in approval of the fact that I've been to Palestine, or people saying, shut the fuck up. You know, I've no idea. I hope the former. All right, I'll stop talking. Anyway, so why is it important? We're in the festival. I know all about Kristallnacht. I know all about the 8th, 9th, 10th of December 1938. I've known about it all my life. It's part of something that I've always been aware of. I'm that age that we know about these things. So I feel for the people who are concerned about desecrating this place. This, if you like, shrine to the memory of the men who were taken from here and killed. I feel for them. So that's why I'm making this small, but I hope significant gesture tonight. So when the second half starts and the banners don't come down, that's why. And I'm not wearing a leather coat. That is why.
Okay, so that was him letting the audience know why he was not in his usual attire for that show because of what happened, right? I don't even think it's so much the German people as it is, you know, the authorities, the police state, more so, the government, right? Obviously, he's in a packed stadium there. So obviously, not too many people were so turned off by it that they decided not to come to the show, especially if they're a big fan of Roger Waters and they know what to expect when going to his shows. Now, RFK Jr. decided to come out in support of Roger Waters, and he tweeted this. And I want you to see what he said here. Roger, you are the global hero Orwell had in mind when he said, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. The high priests of the totalitarian orthodoxies are trying to silence you with censorship, gaslighting, and defamation. Please keep speaking truth to power. Now, this tweet received over 1 million views. It had over 7,000 likes. But there's just one problem. he decided to delete it. Primo Radical was able to get the screenshot and said RFK Jr. deleted this tweet in support of Roger Waters. He did respond again, and I'm going to show you what the new response is. We can get into all that, but I got to say something here. Who tapped Bobby on the shoulder and told him to delete this tweet? Who reached out to him and said, you know, Bobby, I know you like Roger Waters, but you might want to back off on this one. May not look too good for the campaign. May not look too good to have a presidential candidate supporting Roger Waters, considering his views on Russia and Ukraine and Israel and Palestine. Who tapped him on the shoulder? So the tweet was deleted, and you can see that if you scroll down. It says it right here at the bottom. This tweet has been deleted. Why do I have a problem with this? Because this reminds me of a time when Susan Sarandon did something similar, where she made a statement about the NYPD, which I felt was very much right on. She then received pressure, came back and apologized for the tweet. And I still stand by my statement. You can find that video on my channel. It's like a couple of months ago that I think I did this. Yeah, it was a couple of months ago I talked about that story. Might have been last year, actually. But I said there was nothing wrong with what she said. What she said was true. But someone tapped Susan on the shoulder and told her, oh, that's not a good look. You might want to apologize for that. And she did. And so to remind you, Susan Sarandon apologizes for insensitive tweet comparing the NYPD funeral to fascism. But that's exactly what it looked like. If you saw the video footage, that's exactly what it was. So it goes on to show you here. I'll show you what she said. Actress Susan Sarandon apologized for tweeting a photo of thousands of cops gathered in Manhattan for slain NYPD officer Jason Rivera's funeral and comparing them to fascists earlier this week. She said, I deeply regret the meme I recently shared on Twitter that included a photo of Officer Jason Rivera's funeral. I reacted quickly to the picture without connecting it to a police funeral, and I realize now how insensitive and deeply disrespectful it was to make that point at that time. I sincerely apologize to the family of Officers Rivera and Mora for causing additional pain during their time of grieving. In the since deleted tweet, the Thelma and Louise star posted a screenshot of a tweet by writer and podcaster Danny Haifong that included a photo of thousands of police officers lining the streets of Manhattan for Rivera's funeral on January 28th. So this was the picture here. It was Danny, and he said, I'm going to tell my kids this is what fascism looks like. And it was all the police lined up, you know, hashtag abolish the police. So it just kind of reminded me of when they say, oh, we have to have like police out there protecting crime. Who was out there protecting and actually fighting crime when all the police officers were lined up for the funeral? Who was out there doing that day? So I did not disagree with her tweet, but someone tapped her on the shoulder and told her to take it down. Apologize. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. apparently saw that people were asking him, why did you delete the tweet? So he issued another response. And this one, not too good, son. Not too good. So RFK Jr. says, in my remarks about Roger Waters, I was referring to his dissent on the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. I have only recently learned about some of his other views, which I do not share. So in other words, this is RFK Jr. letting you know he agrees with Roger Waters in reference to the pandemic and in reference to the war in Ukraine. This piece here where he says, I've only recently learned about his other views, that means he's referring to Israel and Palestine. That's the other views. Then he goes on to say, I support Israel's right to exist within secure borders. And I also support the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people. I don't know what to say, guys. But this, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Everything wrong with this. Everything wrong with it. So the moment he got some type of pressure, he backed down. And what's the problem with that? Number one, it takes away from the support of the person that you were trying to support initially anyway, Roger Waters. Number two, as a presidential candidate that says we need a peaceful revolution, that doesn't look too revolutionary. That does not look too revolutionary. The moment you got pushback for supporting Roger Waters, you deleted the tweet and then you tweet another tweet to basically show everybody that you're not really trying to rock with the Palestinian people by that. Notice how it's always the Palestinians second. Look at this again. This is something I've always noticed. I support Israel's right to exist within secure borders, and I also support the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people. It's always the Palestinian people are second. They're never first. And it's not just with him. I've noticed this with multiple people. This is not okay. When he says this isn't even, I told you, when we interviewed the Palestinian Network, they said that they educated me and informed us that a two-state solution is not a viable option for the Palestinian people. Why is that? Because essentially it's like saying separate but equal. Only there is no equal. And we tried separate but equal in the United States, and that did not work out well. Why? Because the minority group is not going to be on the equal playing field when you compare them to the majority. They're not going to have the same amount of resources as the majority. Same thing with Israel and Palestine. Obviously, the Palestinian people are the minority. So if you do some type of two-state solution, which some people refer to as separate but equal, it'll be separate, but it won't be equal. But this isn't even that. Like, this is just flat out. I support Israel's right to exist within secure borders. I support the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people. That is cringe. That is cringe. So I got to say it right now. If you're saying you backed off that quickly, then you're not really serious about any type of revolution. You just like Bernie. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys, because I know a lot of you like RFK Jr., but he doing something similar to what Bernie said, only he revealing it a little bit sooner. You're seeing this now. And so even I had to cringe when I saw it. I said, Israel's right to exist. Here we go again. It just, nah, bruh. You're not that different. You're not that different than Hakeem Jeffries, who would agree with this. You're not that different, man. You're not that different than, what's his name, Torres. You're not that different than Hakeem Jeffries, Torres, all these politicians who have that Israel state first mentality. So no. Now, I want to point out here, because this is so great from the Progressive Michigander. This is what they go on to say about the two-state solution. Well, hold on. I think he came up here earlier. Oh, that's when people were like, he deleted the tweet. Yeah. Listen to this. The two-state solution isn't a realistic goal given the amount of settlements Israel has set up. The Israeli government doesn't pretend to want a two-state solution. Therefore, like with South Africa, they must give everyone full citizenship rights, including the right to vote. I mean, essentially, you can't support an apartheid state. Like that, there's no way to do this. Now, some of you know, with me, I have hard lines. There are certain things that I do not bend on. When we interviewed Marianne, we asked Marianne the same question. Marianne, do you support BDS? Marianne said no. Marianne said she supported a two-state solution, and we tried to explain to her from the Palestinian network, like why they said that's not a viable option. Now you got RFK Jr. He's just like, what is this? The point that I'm trying to get across, and I think everybody seriously needs to think about this, but whether you believe in two-state solution or not, if he is willing to go along, especially on this particular issue, if he's willing to go along with what the establishment Democrats want, especially on this issue, he's not really ready for no revolution. And I know what some of you are going to say. Sabby, he can't speak out against them because they're going to throw PAC money up against him. They're going to put APAC up against him and yada, yada. Yeah, the DNC isn't going to let him win anyway, just like they're not going to let Marianne win. And I think RFK Jr. knows that. He mentioned this in an interview with Russell Brand where he said he knows Joe Biden's, the superdelegates are going to give it to Joe Biden. So he already knows that. So if you know, go out with the bang and just keep it real and be like, nah. But what's really sad is just like that quick, he withdrew his support for Roger Waters. That quick. I hope everyone's paying attention to that, man. Hope everyone's paying attention to that. Ay. So that conversation went on for a long time on Twitter, by the way, for a long time. But that's just, I keep trying to tell you guys, nobody trying to come and save us. Oh boy, let me go to some of the comments. It's just a mess. What's that, Brenda? He lost the left, man blew it. What's that, David? I disagree, Sabby. A pathetic protest candidacy is worthless. We need someone not as terrible as Biden, Trump, DeSantis to actually try to win. It doesn't matter if they try to win. It's all rigged. I don't know how many times I can say this to you. The DNC has already decided who they want, and that's how it works. I get what you're saying, but I'm just trying to tell you this is not going to work in your favor. It's a hot mess. Thank you for the super chat, Roger Meadows. Let's start asking them, does PAL have a right to exist? Does Palestine have a right to exist? Thank you, Lloyd. There are way too many blue, no matter who are still backing Biden and posting Trump memes all day. Trump derangement is very real. Yep. Thank you, Cool Blue. Ex-Massachusetts Governor William Weld received 2.35% nationally when he primary challenged then U.S. President Donald Trump for the 2020 GOP nomination. I forgot about that guy. I'm sorry. Kill your Gorgers. Roger also led the boycott of Sun City, Africa. Chris says, RFK, I support Roger Waters. DNC, no, you don't. RFK, correction, I don't support Roger Waters. I wanted to say, guys, thank you. I said that one. Thank you for the super chat. Yabo, Israeli lobby got the whole Dems and Republicans in their pockets. They are powerful. That's why U.S. officials don't have voice to support to criticize Israel. Thank you for the super chat, Anthony. I think RFK can be persuaded on an issue, hopefully. He could be. I mean, I'll tell you, like, if I interview him, I would try to persuade him on that issue. I will say, when we brought this up to Marianne, like, I felt like we really were trying to persuade her on that issue. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. Sabrina, don't forget Biden made Germany bend the knee and getting involved in this proxy war with Ukraine by getting them to send German tanks. So Germany got the call, hey, we don't like Waters. You know what to do. That's a good point. That's right. Well. But what did you guys think in reference to the poll? Let's go ahead and bring that up, Eric. Boy, this is a doozy. Okay, 769 votes. Do you think RFK Jr. should have deleted his tweet? 6% say yes. Is that RFK's campaign team? Like, who is it? Who's the 6%? I'm sorry, I'm just being funny now. 67% said no, and 26% said not sure. That is interesting. I don't know, you guys. If you haven't had a chance to hit that like button, please go ahead and do so.